transgender and gender diverse, first reading.
Dr. Broomall,
Dr. Broomhall and Dr. Bond.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a very unique experience to be able to follow the governor, or a fire drill, firearms. But thank you. Tonight's the first reading.
You have to speak directly into the mic, Dr. Broomhall, or we can't hear you.
Okay. Tonight is the first reading for board policies under review. Just a reminder that board policy are the written guidelines that establish the legal foundation for all board activity, conform with local and national mandates, and provide organizing structure for district operations and administration. We also have a Red Clay Board Policy Review Committee. The committee is established to help facilitate the board policy review process by reviewing and discussing feedback on new and revised policies. Tonight's objectives: explain the policy development process, a brief summary of our October 27th board policy meeting, and present a draft of a new board policy, 8005, transgender and gender diverse students. We'll also outline our next steps, including the timeline for developing this policy and ways to participate in the process. The board met in an open meeting on 10/27 via Zoom. We had a brief discussion about participation and organization, and then there was concern about the number of board members who were wanting to participate with our group. So we took a pause and adjourned that meeting, and we'll come back to that discussion at a different time. Policy 8005, transgender and gender diverse students. The policy is intended to mandate schools create a culture in which transgender and gender diverse students feel safe, supported, and fully included, and to meet each school's obligation to provide equal educational opportunities for all students. The goal is to ensure the healthy, comfort, and healthy development of the transgender or gender diverse student while maximizing the student's social integration and minimizing stigmatization. School personnel shall not disclose information that may reveal a student's transgender or gender diverse presentation to others, including other students and school personnel, unless legally required or the student authorizes. A student has the right to be addressed by a name or pronoun that corresponds to the student's gender identity as inserted at school. However, legal documents will require parent or guardian consent. The district will change a student's official record to reflect a change of the legal name or gender upon receipt of proper documentation that such change has been made pursuant to court order. When contacting the parent guardian of a transgender or gender diverse student, school personnel should use the student's legal name and the pronoun corresponding to the student's assigned gender at birth, unless the student, parent, or guardian is otherwise specified. In a situation where students are segregated by gender, a transgender or gender diverse student will have the right to be included in the group that corresponds to the student's gender identity. Restroom accessibility is addressed on a case-by-case basis. A transgender or gender diverse student shall have the right to access the restroom that corresponds to the student's gender identity. A transgender or gender diverse student requesting increased privacy will have the opportunity honored, but no student will be required to use a private bathroom. Locker room accessibility is again addressed on a case-by-case basis. A transgender or gender diverse student shall have the right to access the locker room that corresponds to the student's gender identity, consistently inserted at school. The transgender or gender diverse student requesting increased privacy will have the opportunity honored. A transgender or gender diverse student shall not be required to use a locker room that conflicts with the student's gender identity consistently asserted at school. A gender or gender diverse student shall be permitted to participate in physical education classes and intramural sports in a manner consistent with their gender identity consistently asserted at school. The transgender or a gender diverse student shall be permitted to participate in interscholastic sports when the student meets the minimum standards of the DIAA. Before next steps, I just want to thank Dr. Bond and her team that gathered in the spring and worked diligently as a group of stakeholders to put together a policy and develop advocates that will exist in our schools prior to its implementation. The policy will be online tomorrow for the public to review. It also will be sent to our student representatives of the board to help us in dissemination to other students. And it will be included in our communication to all users in our daily messaging. The board policy committee meeting is scheduled for December 1st at the district boardroom at 5 o'clock. And on December 15th, a second presentation to the board and a request for action will be requested. If approved, it will go into effect on December 16th, and we will move forward. Those are different ways that the community can participate. The ability to email us directly, we'll include all that public comment and review for the board.
So that's the general presentation again for the first read of the policy. Again, this is a presentation. That policy will be made available tomorrow, will be posted for feedback. So we will encourage, I also have the Superintendent Student Advisory Council tomorrow.